He has a very pithy, elegant, and economic, in terms of use of words, to the point way of explaining how we learn languages. Hi there, Steve Kaufmann here, and today I want to announce my live stream conversation with Dr. Stephen Krashen. Remember, if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe, click on the bell for notifications. I'm really excited. I've known Dr. Krashen for quite a few years. I met him for the first time in Taiwan. And so this, I can't remember how many years ago it was, maybe 15, 20 years ago. I didn't know who he was. I attended a language conference in Taiwan. He gave a talk there. And I was just so struck by how elegant, how simple, and how accurate his description was of the process of language acquisition. And prior to that, of course, I had learned languages. I had been interested enough in languages to start up Link. I'd done a lot of research. So I had not only my own experience of learning languages, but, I'm going to show you in a while here all the different books that I bought on the subject, because I like buying books. And there's so much complicated theory within this whole idea of language instruction and language learning. And all of a sudden, Dr. Krashen, he presented, and I bought this book in Taiwan. It's a very thin book, but it has it all there, the stages of language acquisition. And it was clear. It was like the Gordian knot. It was like Occam's razor. It was a simple explanation of how we learn languages. It cut through all the other stuff. I don't want to get too much into Dr. Krashen's explanation of the theory of language acquisition, because we're going to have a live stream. You can see a link in the description box where you can reserve your spot and participate and ask questions. Dr. Krashen is very transparent. You can go to his website. I think it's skrashen.com, and there's a lot of free material available there. But as you know, he stresses the fact that we learn through input. We learn through compelling, comprehensible input. We learn through meaningful messages. And some people may claim that that's not the whole story, that we also have to speak, and that some people can read and can have high comprehension but are afraid to speak. But if people are afraid to speak, they're going to be even more afraid if they don't understand. So I just feel that everything he said about language acquisition matched my experience in learning the languages that I learned throughout my professional career, and then when I got more interested in languages. And when I got very interested in learning languages, as a sort of my third career to start to focus in on that, I did study online, and of course in bookstores when 20 years ago it wasn't that common to find stuff online. So I just want to show you, so I bought a book, A Short History of Linguistics. Well, that's not quite language learning. English as a second language in the mainstream. Teaching, learning, and identity. Like, people just want to learn languages. Phrases and idioms. I've talked about this. Don't try to master phrases and idioms. But let's see. Then I even bought a Swedish book here. Läsa på främmande språk. How languages are learned. And on, And the practice of English language teaching. And there was a lot of stuff there that was quite complicated, got into, different types of learners, kinetic learners, oral learners, visual learners, all of which is not true, of course. I understood very early on that the key sort of, again, call it the Gordian knot for measuring where we are in a language, is how many words we know. Words are the key. With words, you get the rest of it. You get the grammar. Everything flows from having words. And so there are many books on learning vocabulary in another language. And yet it all boils down, here again, vocabulary, description, acquisition, and pedagogy. It goes vocabulary in language teaching. I read through all these books, and yet it really boils down to what Krashen says. Read and listen. Get the language in you. Get the brain used to the language. Acquire words naturally. If you do all of these things, at some point you're going to want to speak. It doesn't matter when that point is. Of course you can't be intimidated. But the better your level of comprehension, the more words you have at your disposal, the greater likelihood that you won't be so intimidated. So, and I not only is Stephen Krashen astute in his analysis and research, this is based on research into how we acquire languages, but he has a very pithy, elegant, and economic, in terms of use of words, to the point way of explaining how we learn languages. So people are going to pick holes in some of the things that he says. People are going to have different points of view, and we welcome different points of view. And so please join us for this live stream, whether it is to support what Dr. Krashen has to say, whether it be to attack me, which is fine, I don't mind it, I love it, or whether to agree with what we have to say or share your experience of language learning with us. You're more than welcome to participate. We're going to have a conversation where we're going to talk about our experience of language learning and talking to people who are involved in language learning. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm very much looking forward to it. So please reserve your spot. It's going to be on YouTube as well as live streamed. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you. Bye for now.